because it has the potential, because it's dormant. Very few kids picked up on the idea that I needed to take the seed and put it under the right conditions, and then perhaps it would grow. So to kind of extend the lesson after that day, I now have approximately 13 avocado seeds sitting in water on the counter. But I've done this in the past, and it takes weeks for them to sprout. You know, but I'm also going to be able to link it. We had just reviewed spontaneous generation, and as the water gets really dirty from all the bacteria and dust in the air, so I'll be able to revisit that and kind of reincorporate it in, and hopefully at least a couple of the avocado seeds will grow. I did also bring in I don't know, an 18-inch high plant from last year that did grow, and I showed them a picture of one I've had for about 3 years that is as tall as I am.
Okay.
So I've already.
So growth and development, that's great. Yeah.
So it's all kind of worked
Yeah.
in, but
That's good.
they haven't been able to see it with the seeds that they actually.
We get the same problem. Yeah.
And that was pretty much part of my question. Was there any other extension activities after the CER, and will you integrate this or revisit like this discussion later? Like, are you gonna come back to this, or have you come back to this yet?
I do need to come back to it. I think as we progress with the life science unit, right now we're working on classification, but then we'll go into cells, and I'll be able to revisit some of these aspects of it with that, and especially as hopefully they will sprout.
Any other questions? No? Okay. So, at this point, we're going to be looking at student work and asking ourselves, how does the student work connect to the course of study? How does the student work demonstrate, how does the student work demonstrate student learning? As an observer, what does the student work tell you?
Okay. I brought 2 sets. This is day 1. This is the day that was not on the video, where they had the toy and they had the seed. So I had them start with the seed first because they were less familiar with it, and they were able to cite evidence that it was alive and evidence that it was not alive. And again, I had provided the claim for them and asked them to mark which claim the seed is alive or the seed was not alive. And we did the same thing for the wind-up toy on the back. Then they needed to explain their reasoning. Some of them did a great job, some of them did less well. But again, they're at the very beginning stages of this. And so they practiced that process with the seed, and then they moved on to the wind-up toy. And the wind-up toy is on the back. Okay, so there's several different students there.
So did you have that problem with them thinking that something doesn't move means it's not living?
Yes, they definitely, I think it comes from they know more about animals than any other group. And animals all move. So they're stuck on the idea that if it doesn't move, it's not alive. So as we get into the various kingdoms, then I'll be spending more time on it's not a requirement of life, and we'll be talking about the various bacteria and archaea and protists that don't move.
Did you tell them what to look at this? Like, these 2 people had the same exact thing.
They might have been partners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were partners. I'm sorry, I tried to pick,
No,
I tried to pick ones that weren't partners. So that was day 1. Day 2. Ready for day 2?
Day 2, bring it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The day 2 is the actual CER form. And I have it, I required them to put their observations on the front. And we've been observing things all year. So some of them did a better job observing than others. And I walked them through the process. You heard me doing that on the video. But didn't require them to write anything on this front side other than their observations. Then when they flipped it over onto the back, Mary, I think this is the part where you were saying it would be helpful to have it up on the board. They had this form in front of them. So everybody, basically had the same question, but I gave them the preference on how to word it. Is it alive? What's its life status? Then I gave them the choice of the claim. And again, I thought the scaffolding was important because they needed to, they were so new with this. And the two claims would be the avocado seed is alive, the avocado seed is not alive. And kids had asked me, maybe not in this class, but they were asking me, well, if it's not alive, it's dead. And I was clear to explain, no, there's more to it than it's alive or it's dead. We have to call it non-living. It's either alive or it's not alive. Okay, we have to make that kind of distinction. Then you can see how the form flows from the question to the claim. Then they make more observations to write their evidence. And then here's, after citing the evidence, they were to use their textbook, which was on the lab seat in front of them, as well as the article I had provided them to find the evidence to match up with they had to find the reasoning to match up with the evidence that it was alive or not. And then when they were done with that, they were able to draw a conclusion.
How did they know it had cells? Was that in the reading, or did they just know that?
They
or?
just assumed it had cells.
Oh, that's interesting. Have you done cells yet?
No.
Oh, wow, I don't know if
But
kids
they-
would have reached that.
Yeah, they did. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
they,
no.
they did do cells in elementary. So the
Okay.
cells is not
That's
totally new to
interesting.
them. And I think I may have already said, but I was very disappointed that more students didn't pick up on the idea of dormancy. That we're saying it's alive because it's dormant. Their reasoning was not very solid reasoning. But again, this is their first time, so I have to be okay with them having not really realistic reasoning.
And most kids don't have a big background in terms of avocado seeds. Maybe they did a pumpkin seed or something.
Yeah.
But to transfer that to it, it looks so different.
Yeah.
It's really unique. So they might not have had as much prior knowledge, but they were using evidence. You know what I mean? They definitely were looking to do that, and that's really the most important piece. You know, whether it's all biologically correct. I mean, this isn't a lesson on seeds. It's
Yeah.
a lesson, you know what I mean? It's
On
interesting,
seed,
yeah.
yeah.
Living or non-living and getting evidence to
I like
support it, yeah.
that this one said, you had mentioned Reddy's spontaneous, and this one used that reasoning.
Oh.
According to Reddy's experiment, living things only come from living things, and since
Oh,
the avocado
wow.
came from a living plant, the seed is living, so I thought that
Oh,
was
wow.
good
That's
use of
amazing.
obviously recalling something
Recalling
with prior
something,
learning,
too,
which
yeah.
was good, so.
But Jen, you had mentioned in the earlier rounds that you had the question about where do you step in
Yeah.
in trying to correct their misconception, and that's something I need help with. I just don't have a good handle on how long. I mean, having them explore is wonderful,
Right.
but I don't know where to
Draw the
step
line.
in and draw the line.
Yeah.
But if you're covering it again, you can go back to it too. And maybe
Thank
say, you know, we need to think about that, or write it on the board and say, let's put that up there and let's come back to that or something. I know I feel the same. Just, yeah. Yeah, it seems like they do get cells. This one's saying put it under a microscope.
Under a microscope, you
And
can
look
cell
at
structures and
cells.
cell walls, plant cells.
That's great.
We have not done microscopes yet.
Wow. And if you planted it, they would grow roots and leaves. So they're getting an understanding of, growth and development, or the potential for growth and development, so even though they're not saying the
They're not
terms, they're getting it in
Getting
there,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments on the,
It's just like, yeah, comments, like, we might have questions.
no, anybody
Well,
else?
would that be
We're
questions for
we're
downstairs
doing,
discussion? I don't know.
we're looking at the student work, so we're just asking questions, about the student work, and we're talking about what the students are telling us, which I think we're doing, so.
Okay.
And we're talking about how the student work is demonstrating the student learning.
I mean, even the ones where they don't have the right answer, like, it still shows me that they're learning about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you think about it as that, are they learning about CER or,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Is it to learn CER or is it to learn about an avocado plant? But like one of them said, no, it's dead. It's not alive, it's dead. I didn't know. It used to be alive. The seed is now dead, but it used to be alive. So like, but in conclusion,
Maybe
based on what they've done so far.
maybe too, you could do in the follow-up lesson, maybe have some of the kids share what they've said, and then the kids that maybe were off task a little teeny bit, maybe ask questions, and then I might give you some opportunity to revisit it, and then it may make some corrections for you.
I have a question, but I don't know if it's appropriate, but that's what I'm wondering. I was wondering what your expectation was for the conclusion. Like, did you just want them to state a conclusion to the claim, or did you want them to write a paragraph, or did you give no expectation?
The form has very little space for conclusion.
Right.
So, I was just expecting a statement, and that their conclusion based on their evidence and reasoning, that the seed is alive, the seed is not alive. But with different topics, it would be important to have a more extensive conclusion.
Does anybody else have any other comments on the work? Good? Okay. Alright, so everyone, including facilitator, shares what they've learned from this, and with the fellow being observed going last. And we have 5 minutes for that. Sorry, you started.
I learned something, Maureen and I have done this before, we've done the wind-up toy thing, and I never realized that we could tie it to CDR. You know, we meaning I could follow in her footsteps and do this next year. So I liked seeing that, I like realizing that a lot of things I already teach can fall well into the CER format, and it doesn't have to be something that's like 5 or 6 days, it can be something that's kind of quick, and it can be a nice little way for the students to engage in a different type of learning, and also do a little bit of research, even if it's just over the textbook. So I thought that was really cool how it was a new spin on what we have kind of always done, which is good.
And I'm gonna go with the same thing, just because we did in 7th grade, we did a whole thing with seeds. And I'm already in my mind like, oh, how am I gonna readapt my lesson to look just like this? Because I think it's, like, I love the worksheets, I like how you know, the day before, how it was set up, and I'm just thinking of how I can apply that directly to what I'm doing next year.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good opportunity, because we do a lot of claims and evidence with our kids, and we just like kind of get into the reasoning part now and how important that is, and always wondering, how does that tie into the conclusion? Where does that come in? So it was great to have like a hands-on example of that, and also because we do something similar, I like how, again, how you focused on the avocado seed. We do too many different things, and it gets like so confusing. I like that focus. So I thought that's something we should really look at again. And with the focus on the avocado seed, I don't know, I just like the way that you just did the application, and just kind of like I think you really did kind of step back rather than give them all the answers, and I think that was really helpful to see your technique in using that. I'm so glad you guys went first.
I thought it was really great to see like how well students do with this on what you said was kind of their first try, like with the structure and direction that you provided. So like you provided really good structure, really good directions, and like I think that they were really successful with it because of the structure that you put in place.
Did you send? I apologize. Did you send us copies of these? Like
No.
a blank? Can I get a
Oh,
blank?
yeah,
me too. Thanks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from this because I came into this knowing nothing about CER. So in reading some of the research articles that we had definitely related to this, and I was able to take from it, and of course, because I had the opportunity to bounce ideas off Lynn, because we're in such close proximity, I learned a lot. I was still very nervous in doing it because I just didn't know what to expect from the kids, and having it means so much that you pointed out that the kids really did get it, because in reading they didn't make the comments on their papers that I wanted them to. So it's like, oh, yeah. But you know what? There's so many other ways of looking at it. But this gives me a good stepping off point to do CER again with another topic.
And the topic itself is they throw in they throw in the characteristics of living things. Oh, things have cells. Things are grown, developed. It has DNA. Well, you don't get to that yet. You know what I mean? So you really starting off at a place where you haven't really covered all the topics that they're using as descriptions. You know?
We did spend some time identifying and learning about our book cites it as 6 characteristics and 4 needs of living things. So they had just tested on that a day or two before this.
Yeah.
So that was fresh in their mind.
But I just feel like with our kids, they look at the list and they're like, what's that? My kids haven't done cells yet. So they're like, what? So I thought they did a good job. Got that. So then the last one says 5 minutes pre-observation dialogue for fellow who will be observed next. Oh, so we're done.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, so
That was good.
that was great.
All right. Nice
Pausing
job.
that for a
Yeah.
second?
What?
Are you pausing that for a second?
No, I didn't. I was gonna shut it off.
Okay.